Depression. Depression. It's a whole lot of people dealing with depression. A whole lot of us in our community that are dealing with depression, but don't really know why. I'm going to talk to you guys tonight. We're going to share how depression almost killed me. And I'm going to tell you how you can avoid some of the traps and some of these root causes of depression. We're going to fight this thing, guys, and we're going to beat it. It's the JoJo Hill Show. Stay here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your friend and brother Robert W. JoJo Hill, the servant, the artist, and the author. I am your relationship and empowerment motivator. And of course, I'm in the building on the 90. Yes. All right. Depression. I want to deal with this subject matter tonight because I've been getting a lot of very interesting calls, very interesting and almost saddening stories. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the latest, well, it was a 2019 beauty queen, literally a beauty queen. I believe the girl's name was, let me see here. Her name was Chelsea Christ from 2019, Miss USA. And then there was another young lady, Miss Alabama, I believe it was. Her name was Zoe Bethel. And both of these young ladies, according to the news, they took themselves out, threw themselves out of a window, or jumped off of a building or something to that effect. I don't know about all the dynamics of it. I just know that this is something that actually happened. Now, I want to deal with this piece, and I'm going to take my time tonight because depression is a really serious condition. I dealt with depression, but I didn't realize I was dealing with it after my mom passed. I lost my brother in 2013, then my mom in 2015. I didn't understand and I didn't know that I was dealing with such a heavy presence of depression. Now, depression is you have to first understand this is a serious mental illness. Depression is an illness. And if you don't understand that it's an illness, if you don't understand this is something that happens due to a various number of things, you'll land in depression. You won't even realize that you're in it. It's so many people that are functioning every single day, guys, every day. And they are as depressed as you can, as the day is long, but no one's ever discussed it with them. We've never talked about it, particularly in our community. We don't often understand that we have to go through a process of healing and ultimately wholeness of mind. The concept of being complete in mind is not something that we see often. And guys, make sure you click like and share this post, please. And I'm asking that tonight more particularly because YouTube is very these social media platforms are very interesting in regards to how they allow my content to be shared. And this is something that we need to share it. I'm going to be talking from some personal spaces tonight because I think that people need to kind of understand that. It's a lot of things that particularly people that are in the public eye deal with that the everyday Joe may not necessarily deal with. But I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to talk to you about some of my experiences and how I was able to overcome that post my mom's death. Now, one of the primary hingers or connectors in relationship to depression is grief. So if you experience some type of grief, understand that depression can slide right on the back of grief. Now, it's not just it's not just the process of grieving per se. It's also in connection with this other condition that slides right on the back of grief. So you'll find yourself in a state of depression post someone's death or grief, or in your grieving process, but it'll be much heavier than just the fact that you're grieving a loved one that you've lost. It'll be much deep. It'll be much deeper, because what'll happen is the depression will cling itself and lock itself right on the back of your grief. And before you know it, you'll start thinking all kind of crap. Your mind will just be going bananas. You'll start thinking all types of thoughts. I had thoughts of suicide. I've never been a person of that mindset. I've never been a depressed person. I've always been very upbeat. But what happened with me, and I have to be transparent with this particular show tonight, because I want people to understand that it can happen to even the best of us, because it's a very sneaky piece. A lot of people deal with depression, they don't have any idea they're dealing with it. Like when I was in it, I didn't necessarily realize it. Um, a, a lot of it is connected with dissonance or cognitive dissonance that I've spoken about before, when something that you believed or something that you thought to be truth or real, you find out that it wasn't. That can lend itself or lead you right into an area of depression, but you won't realize that. You won't know it. You'll be like, oh shoot, I've entered into a realm or a space that my mind has never even been in this space before. But what's happening is what you've believed and what you were taught versus what you understand and learn to be truth are conflicting. It creates what's called cognitive dissonance. And we don't fare very well with dissonance. That's not something we tolerate. We don't deal that part very well. So we have to get rid of it by any means necessary. We have to get rid of whatever is creating the dissonance. We got to lose it. So the depression can slide right on top of that, and it'll cause you to start bugging out. I'm looking at these folks that are literally beauty queens that have been taking themselves out, allegedly taking themselves out. What's happening? What's causing this? What's the root of this? What the heck is causing it? Now, here's what you have to understand. Depression, it can cloak itself or hide itself into fantasy land. Like, what I've discovered is that many people that deal with depression are usually people that are coming out of, or that have been living or existing inside of a fantasy island in their mind. So they've built their life around fake stuff. Everything is fake. Remember, I talked about this before. You cannot have a culture that embraces everything that's fake as normal and think that it's not going to negatively affect that culture. It is going to affect it. It's just a matter of time. And if you notice, our culture, our community is experiencing higher levels of depression than any other time. But why? What's the root? What the heck is causing it? We're not making a connector. We're not tying very neatly the concept that the fake dynamic is creating depression. Here's how it works. Here's how I believe that it works. If you live everything about your life in a fantasy island world or in a fake world, you still know that what you're looking at every day, what you're dealing with every day is fake and phony. So your mind is in constant conflict. It knows that that fake thing is happening. So what does it do? It creates an area of depression. So now depression has slid right on the back of all the fake, and now your hind parts are going to be dealing with something that you ain't had no business dealing with. Depression will destroy you. It'll completely strip your mind of life and truth. That's what it does. It takes life and truth and it scraps it, because if you're living in a fake sense of life, if you have I remember it was a movie called Imitation of Life. And in this movie, I think it was Lena Horne, and she had been passing for a white woman, but her mother was black. And what happened was she had functioned in this world essentially as a white woman, but in her heart she knew that she was black. And her mom, who was just as black as the ace of spades, Lena would try to hide her mother or act like she was her servant or something. She's like, no, that's my mom. So she ultimately she couldn't process that. It was very complicated to deal with that imitation of life. Everything she was doing was in a fake realm. Now, here it is. I talked about being healthy. I talked about going in a point of healing and then functioning in a place of wholeness. I've talked about that. I've dealt with it. Now here's the incredible revelation in it. If you don't seek ultimate healing and then become whole, depression will potentially be a lot. It'll ultimately jump right on you. Let me show you guys a couple things. I want to make this I want to make this teaching, this training very specific. Um, I don't want us to lose. I don't want us to lose the. I don't want us to lose our understanding that things can go one way or the other. If you don't recognize it, if you don't see it, if you don't face it head on, it can potentially destroy you. When I was dealing with that bout of depression, coupled with the cognitive dissonance that I was taught that I was going that I was taught dealing with, it was very complicated because I couldn't make stuff make sense. So I had to ultimately land in a position of truth. When you land in a position of truth, here's the designation of truth. Truth is by design created to make you free, but free where? Free in your mind. Truth ultimately releases you from the lie, or it releases you from your connection with the misdirection. It releases you from all of the parameters of fake, phony, and unreal or fantasy land. It takes you out of that. Now, when I start to look into these various cases of people that's been taking themselves out, particularly in our community, it's freaking nuts. I'm wondering why we've been so apt to start leaning in that direction. If you look at our community in bulk, what's been our lot? What's been the thing? What have we been doing? People are showing up, particularly social. Let me deal with this from social media position. Please understand, social media is jacking people up. I can comfortably submit social media is a wide cause of depression. Here's why. Because all the crap that you're seeing is from a fake perspective. Everything is fake. So people walking around like, oh, we on a freaking yacht. That's freaking fake. You don't own no freaking lot. You don't got no freaking yacht. People standing in front of these cars and they're standing like their life is a constant vacation. And I get that. Now, please understand, I support living a very comfortable life and all that stuff. I get it. I'm a fan. I'm a participator, but I can't marry myself to the fantasy. See, one of the things people sell fantasies because most people really don't want truth. But the problem with that is if you marry yourself to the fantasy, if you keep doing it, it's going to ultimately land you in a place of depression and because you're not actually a whole person. Your mind is not complete. You don't have any level of pureness or healing or wholeness that's not even functioning in your mind. Your movements, the stuff that you're engaging is freaking fake. So what's going to ultimately happen? You realize and you know deep down inside that this stuff is a fugazi. It's fake. My book, Recognizing the Diamond. What was what I'm talking about in this freaking book? I'm talking about being able to recognize the differences between real and fake, fantasy world and reality. You have to be able to deal with that. If you don't, your relationships are going to constantly crash and burn. Why do you think so many people are getting in jacked up scenarios and they can't understand why when they get out of those situations, they feel like they want to throw themselves off a freaking bridge because the thing was fake. The whole dynamic of it was fake. So we have to first deal with that. This social media crap, I'm telling you, man, it can jack you up, and I can be a witness to it because you'll start comparatively placing yourself next to other things that you're seeing in the social media space. So you'll start thinking, well, if I don't get this many likes, or if I don't click this button, or if I don't appear on this thing, that means that my quality, value, or worth is less. So you'll start questioning it. And I found myself being very frustrated in that regard. Not necessarily to the point of depression, but definitely I could sense and feel that it was creating other stuff. Here's the thing. If I'm watching a social media platform, for example, and I'll watch, for example, views, and I know that the content, I know that the information, I know the stuff that I have to share, I know that my assignment is a very powerful assignment. I pick no freaking bones about it. Ain't nobody beat JoJo Hill at being JoJo Hill. Absolutely not. I am fierce. I will challenge anybody to stand toe to toe with me in doing what I do. I'm fierce with it. I've been assigned to do it. I understand it. But here's the deal. You can start, if you're not careful, you'll begin to try to side by side or A and B your thing to something that's not even in the realm and space that you're on, purely because social media says that 1.5 million likes of watching somebody hit themselves in the face with a bat, or watch some chick break in and fight some dude because he was cheating, all that crap. You'll subconsciously start thinking that if you don't have that, then what you have is not valuable enough. And I'm here to tell you that that's bullcrap. Don't think that. I'm trying to release our minds out of this realm of potential depression, because it's very powerful. You have to be very careful with that. There's a couple different forms of things that cause depression. One of the things is family history, illness or health issues, medication, drugs, or personality. Now, it's a bunch of those things that are just some basic root causes of depression. Now, I would submit that if you're digesting 85 to 90% of your information from a platform that's built on fake, you're going to slide into some type of depression. It's almost inevitable, because what you're looking at is not real. So you're trying to make your life parallel something that's fake. This social media crap is nuts. You got to be very careful with that. If you're not careful, you'll find yourself trying to live a life that's purely built in fantasy. This is freaking amazing. Stop living the lie. Let me help you. Stop living the lie. You have to get rid of that. Stop living the lie. Rid your mind of the fantasies. You have to get rid of that, because depression hinges itself on certain things. It connects to it. So if you're looking at I don't have it the way this person has it, that's an inroad or route into depression. Now, what I need to express to you, you have to understand that a great portion of the things that you're watching or seeing, them junks is fake as crap. They're not real at all. Half the things that most people are comparing themselves to are fake. You're looking at a girl, let's say, for example, you have a woman on Instagram and they have this anatomically strange shaped body, look like a freaking ant. Big up top, little small, tiny little waist like this, big old hips and butt. So then you have a wide variety, a wide range of our girls who are looking at this crap saying, man, I got to be like that in order for me to get some likes. So they start going through all of this crap, trying to make themselves be this thing that's fake. This is incredible stuff, man. I decided even tonight, I said, I'm not going to adjust any of my teaching tonight. I'm not going to adjust any of the stuff based upon any of the views or nothing, because I have to get this information out in the atmosphere. Because I know I know it's too much. We're watching it too much. We're watching people get taken out. Now, I also know this. I have no thoughts in my mind in the reservation. I know that this particular format and this platform adjusts what it allows people to see. So if you were talking about something that was very detrimental and destructive to our culture, it would be flooded. The gate would be much wider. I'm not insane. I know exactly what this is. I saw a piece concerning I believe it was TikTok being either a Chinese or a Japanese company, right? And in that country, their views are rewarded for things like engineering, mathematics, science, um, computer technology, things like that. So if you put up a post showing how great you did in school, for example, or in your training or understanding of engineering or math or science or anything like that, in that country, the numbers are that's rewarded. So people have a motivation to do better in those areas. So consequently, that country has a 40 to 50% of all their the engineers and crap are coming from that area. So they reward it there. In this country here, in our social media platforms, the reward is not in helping. The reward is when you do foolishness. So the crazier and the stupider, the most random, arbitrary crap that will just keep your mind addicted to brainless movement, that's rewarded. You don't think that that's going to create some type of strange, a wide range of people that are dealing with depression? Of course, it's going to, because what you're seeing, you're competing with something that's completely off center. This is freaking amazing. I'm not rushing through this crap. I'm gonna talk about it, and I'm gonna finish with the crap I gotta say because I want people to understand it. Those of you that's watching, share it. You need to share it. It needs to go out there. The algorithm has to see that something is being said. You have to do it. I want to speak to a couple pieces here. Um, Depression holds fast to fake. I want you to understand that. Depression holds fast to fake. What's up, Sparkle Barkle? I see you, baby girl. Um, she said you look good. Oh, thank you so much, sweetheart. I hear you. Um, we have to rid ourselves of our obsession with fake. Are you hearing me? You have to rid yourself of the obsession with fake. This piece is so dramatic, it's so specific in regards to what's causing these people to go left. If you have a culture that's going to reward people for being the fakest version of self, you're going to ultimately have a condition of people that are dealing with massive levels of depression. It's going to happen because they can't, it's like you can't compete with that. How can you compete? How can you compete with that? I know people that sit on social media. I know people that sit on social media, and here's what they do. What's going on, Cheryl? Good to see you, sis. Um, I know a lot of people that sit on social media and they will have fake stacks of money. That you'll be thinking, man, they got all this money. They're standing there with fake stacks of money. They're in a rented car, or they're at some place where they're standing next to a car and it looks like it's there, or they're standing at some house, it looks like it's theirs, but it's not theirs. So they got all of this fake stuff that they're flooding the community with, the mindset, the people. This is what the crap is happening. Sure, the reason that you probably been missing the shows is because, and missing the live, because Facebook literally just doesn't show it. We did a poll the other night. I'm just gonna let me digress here for just a second. We did a post the other day just sampling how many people were actually seeing the content as it came through, or any of the posts. I have close to 20 or 30,000 fans and followers. And over a 4 to 5 day period, Facebook only allowed about 160 of my 20 to 30,000 fans and followers to even see the post. So I know that it's something that's being definitely throttled, and it can get a bit frustrating, but we have to kind of move past it. So I hope that the people will share. If you guys are watching it, share it, post it, repost it, comment, do all those things that we can try to get that engagement to open and move, because it's just what it is at this point. So I have to just teach and share um, with the people that'll see it and hear it. Hopefully, people will catch it in the replays if we leave it up. And ultimately, guys, we're moving to a completely different platform. So the people that will that's always been supporters of the content will have an opportunity to see it and participate from that. But we'll tell you about that stuff a little bit later. Um, but let me just keep on moving here, because I got to give you guys a couple more pieces, and then I'm going to jump off tonight. Self-acceptance is critical to shedding depression. You have to have a knowledge of self. A great portion of people that deal with massive levels of depression are they don't have a true knowledge of self. See, knowledge of self in its purest form allows you to absorb and accept who you are at your core, at your root. And here's what happens: you start to develop and grow the version of yourself. You start to grow that piece. Are you listening? You start to grow that piece. Sparkle makes just DM me, babe. Just put something in my uh direct message on one of the platforms, and I'll reach out to you. So many of us don't have a true knowledge of self, and this can be very dangerous because you've been you've been given by the universe a very specific format of yourself. You've been given a very particular formulation of who you are. Whatever you were supposed to be, you got that from the universe. Nobody had anything else to do with it. You got it. It is yours. Now, if you try to be something that you are not, you have the potential, statistically, is statistically higher. You bump into the probability of entering into an area of depression. So I'm trying to show us these various different components of how this stuff just jumps out. So one of the areas and one of the four major causes of depression has been what they call family history, or family. You have a family history of depression. But here's the revelation: is the truth of it. The truth and the fact of the matter is that family history is more of a family behavioral pattern, as much as not as much as history. I don't, in my assessment, and I believe that it's more behavior. For example, according to my family's history, I should have either high blood pressure, heart disease, I should have stroke, I should have respiratory issues, I should have all these things according to my family history. I made a decision in terms of how I live to bypass that. I said, okay, so if as a family everybody eats the same, essentially the conditions that are associated with eating should in fact follow each person, because every person is eating the same stuff. So if you eat food that has high concentrations of salt and it has fat and all this stuff, it's going to create issue in terms of health. Now I want you to understand, don't miss this revelation. It's very incredible, it's very powerful. If you understand that, you'll say, well, crap, if I don't want high blood pressure, I have to make an adjustment. But what's the adjustment? The adjustment is I'm not going to do what these people just did. So if I make the adjustment, I should statistically alter it. I should change that just by altering my intake. So if I'm watching people that are following a pattern that's leading them into depression, here's what I have to do. I have to now make the adjustment to say, well, the things that they're doing that's causing them to enter into this mode of depression, statistically, if I alter that, if I don't do that, I should statistically alter the probability of me entering into that form of depression. Are you guys listening to the old fire starter? This is a very specific understanding. So we can begin to throw it off or bypass it based upon what we adjust in our own lives, in our own minds, in our own patterns. We have to watch. It's certain things that trigger it. Certain things are just triggers. If you get rid of the triggers, you should statistically alter it. It's just a matter of statistics. We can change it. We can alter it if we freaking adjust the intake. If I change what goes in, I should statistically be able to adjust what goes out. If I'm watching, if you have people that's sitting and staring at social media for 95% of their day, they're probably going to end up in a fake state of mind. They're going to think that all this fake crap is normal and real. But the problem with absorbing all the fake crap and the fakeness, it tends to lend itself to depression. Are you listening to the old troublemaker? It's very, 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 very specific. It's very specific. Social media, please, I don't want to jump there yet. Okay, knowledge of self and self-awareness, it combats depression. Knowledge of self, self-awareness. What the heck does that mean, JoJo? Do you freaking know who you are? Do you have an idea of who in the ham and cheese you are? Do you know really who you are? I did a training, and you guys, when you get an opportunity, pop over to the website. I did a training called The Bridge Called Depression. Bridge Called Depression. And I talked about how, when I dealt with this bout of depression, how I was able to use the depression as a bridge to take me from one point to the next. How did I use it? How do I get out of it? How did I shake myself? And how did I shed my fear of it? How did I lose what depression was doing to me? How did I take that once I had a knowledge of self and self-awareness and understanding the true definition of my purpose and my call and my real life mission? What the ham and cheese am I, and what am I here to do? And my assignment has always been to encourage, to empower, and enlighten. That's my assignment. I became self-aware. I became extremely aware of the assignment. So what did that do for me? How did it begin to shed this area of depression? How the crap did I get out of it? I had a knowledge of self. I had a divine revelation that gave me a very distinct and empowered, plugged in, and supercharged knowledge of self. And I had to understand that the version of, and this is happening with a whole lot of people. It's a whole lot of folks that's been engaging things that were taught to them that wasn't their self. It's a lot of people that's been absorbing and functioning in a position of mind that has routed them into a thinking that is not, in fact, their own. Think about how many thoughts that you've been given that were not your own thoughts. If you're looking at, for example, and we're talking about a couple of different pieces here. We talked about family history, or that's according to the medical data. It suggests that family history plays a dramatic role in how people can land in depression. My submission is, if the families are following the same patterns, then of course you're going to enter into the same type of depression. So if you bypass, watch this now, folks. If you bypass the input that you're getting from the family, if you get out of that, you statistically have adjusted your output or your outcome. How are we going to combat this freaking thing called depression? How do we fight this crap and live? How do we fight the depression and live? How do we survive? We're watching people take themselves out, but why are they taking themselves out? People are taking themselves out because they're giving a permanent solution to a temporary problem. You cannot submit a permanent solution to a temporary problem. It's going to ultimately change something. If you even think it is going to change, you're like, oh crap. It was a survey done. I saw this thing back in the 80s. There was a survey done. They took all these junior high school kids and high school kids, and they gave them this survey. They said, if something happened in your life that was just really, really out of your control, what would you do? And about 80% of the kids on there wrote commit suicide. Then after that choice, they checked other things that they may do also. I'm like, what do you mean? The game is over. If you commit suicide, you don't have a second choice. No, that part has to be off of the table completely. You can't think about, I'm going to throw myself off of a freaking bridge. No, because whatever you're dealing with, if you're honest, it probably has something to do with outside stimuli and not just your own knowledge of self. Because when you have a pure knowledge of self, what does that mean? Wait a minute here. What the crap does that mean? When you have a fully functioning knowledge of self, it changes how you see yourself. So you're not gonna parallel yourself against someone else, or measure yourself by the metrics of someone else that's not you. Nobody can beat me being me. Do you understand? I've already won. I've already won the battle, because nobody can beat JoJo at being JoJo. It can't freaking happen. Now, how do we begin to move that? How do we move how do we move the piece? Self, yes. What do I have to do? Okay, self. First order of business, I have to lose the strongest influences in my life that are negative. Remove them. And for many of us, guess what the ham and cheese it is? It's freaking social media. That social media is dangerous. Think about how much time people spend on social media. So if you got something that you're supposed to be doing, you won't do it. If you have some goal that you're supposed to be accomplishing, you'll be missing the goal. Watch. Oh man, this is powerful. Okay, Father, I heard that. Okay, you'll literally be tossing away the energy that you're supposed to be dumping into your purpose, that will in fact supercharge your knowledge of self, releasing you from depression. You'll be dumping all that energy into a platform, into a place that's literally stripping you of your knowledge of self. God, that was incredible what I just said. That was freaking incredible. I watch people that have studied and mimicked and watched originals, and they'll go off and build platforms, and they build these platforms as a fake. So they'll move as fakes. They're not meaning any harm, but they move as fakes. So the things that they may discuss and talk about, the information may be solid information because they may have derived the information from a solid source. Not the problem. That ain't the freaking problem. The problem is they've pushed this fake stuff so long that they're now believing the fake is really them. But the problem is they're landing in a point, in a place of the results aren't matching. I told my wife, there is no way possible I'm going to encourage, empower, and enlighten the world, and I have no relationship with my freaking wife. Are you out of your mind? I'm not going to have a public success story and my private life is a freaking failure. What the crap are you talking about? What you see is what you get. People talk about when they see me, people meet me in the streets. I meet people that follow my content, that know my work, that's followed my stuff over the years. They say, wow, man, you act the same. You act the exact same as you do on your social media, or you on your shows and on your projects and things that you do. You act the same. Yeah, act the same. I'm the same freaking person. Man, you look the same. You look just like your pictures. That's because that is me on the freaking picture. I'm not. Oh my God. Do you follow what I'm saying? I have to live in a life of truth. Living in a life of truth, living a life of wholeness, it keeps you free from depression because it's truth. Truth crushed to earth will rise again. Malice may attack it, ignorance may derail it, but at the end, there it is. And we know the ancient text that says, and ye shall know truth, and the truth will make you free. A lot of people say set. No, make. It makes you free. In other words, it liberates the crap out of your mind. So if you're functioning in liberation, if you're functioning in truth, the probability of depression getting a hold of you is it's rare. It's highly uncommon. Because even if you go through something that's extremely challenging, if you have a true knowledge of self, what does that mean? That means you accept and you understand what the divine universal God put in you from the gate. So you're not dealing with something that you don't believe is going to work, because the true universal God, the God of everything, he doesn't put stuff in place that doesn't work. So now you're dealing in a different format of understanding, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm not going to function inside of depression like I don't know what the ham and cheese. I don't have any hope. I do have freaking hope. I know what my design is. I know what my assignment is. If you know what your assignment is, you don't freak out. Okay, let's go very, very, very anatomical. Let's go very, 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 very flat. Suppose you're frosting. Let's just say, let's use frosting as a metaphor. Let's use the making of a cake as a metaphor or symbolic. If your assignment, let's say you're frosting, if you are frosting and you're watching the cake maker make a cake, and at the point that you're sitting in that cabinet, they're cracking the eggs, they're putting the flour in the bowl, they done took out the blender, they got the big spoon and all of that. As frosting, if you don't know your assignment, you'll feel like there's no purpose for you. You'll feel like your life or your frosting life doesn't have any worth or value, because you're watching the eggs be broken up and dropped into that batter. You're watching the flavoring be put in there. You're watching the oven. You're watching the cake pans. You're watching all these things, and you're trying to compare your frosting existence against the rack that's inside of a freaking oven. And you'll feel like I have no purpose. But once you understand, oh, I'm frosting, it just ain't my time yet. It ain't time for me to shine yet. It ain't time for me to show up and glaze this whole cake and make this thing look appealing to everybody, to put that final sweetener on top of it. We don't know that part. You won't know it because you won't have a knowledge of self. Having a knowledge of self is an inner working process. It's when you know that the universal God has put something in you that's so freaking powerful. It's so strong and it's so incredible that nothing will cause you to lose that knowledge of self. You hang on closer to it. You don't look at other people and say, I'm supposed to be like them. You look at yourself and say, I'm the best version of me. Every time I'm out, for example, every time I'm out, particularly when I see black girls and black women, if I see a black girl, particularly a teenage girl, and she has her own hair, she's got her own natural hair, it may just be pulled back in a ponytail, I'll walk straight to her. She may have Afro puffs. I'll walk straight to that black girl and I'll say, baby girl, listen to me like you ain't never listened to nobody in your life. What you are right now is the most beautiful version of you that you can be. And most time, 9 times out of 10, they cover their hair. They'll say, no, my hair ain't done. Don't look at it. They start saying that. And I say, take your hand down. Take your hand down. You look at me in my face and let me tell you something. Who you are is not an era. Who you are works. This is the best, most incredible version of yourself, because that's the way the universal God put you on this planet. Don't you dare cover who you are to try to be someone else. Because if you do, you're going to enter into a state of mind that conflicts everything that you do. You'll start looking at yourself, and what you see, you know that it's not you, and you'll begin to hate what you see in the mirror. I had someone to say to me, and this is a lot, but I'm kind of sliding into the content in regards to my documentary concerning this stuff, but I'll give you guys a piece of this. If you have people who reject the true version of themselves to embrace someone else, The mind is very powerful. God built the mind with all these automatic machines inside of them, as it were. It's automatic. We can't stop it. We can't fight it. We can't fight it. It's how it works. The mind will start conflicting because it knows internally that ain't who you are. We want to ask, why is it so much depression? Look at what we're doing. Look at the things that we've done. We don't function in a knowledge of self. We're not even considering knowledge of self. Social media is a self-worth killer. You have to surround yourself. You have to surround yourself with those who lift you and not those that sift you. Are you following? You have to surround yourself with people that lift you. But what do they lift? They lift your thinking. You get surrounded by people, the conversation should elevate your mindset. If you're around people and environments that consistently plummet and destroy your mindset, don't you think you're going to end up in a depressed state of mind? Look at all the things that we have to combat. We have to combat the possibility of family history crap. You have to combat the possibility of experiences. And then not to mention if you have actual health issues, mental illnesses, all these things are contributing factors to this freaking depression. Then you got to think about personality types and think about the people that you're surrounding yourself with. What are you looking at every day? What's the information that you're feeding your mind? All these things are pushing you, dragging you, chasing you, or shoving you into a place that distracts and pulls you away from the truest version of yourself. We don't freaking need that. You want to live in a space, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, you want to live in a space that is genuine and pure in truth. Truth is a liberator. Truth. I've heard people say, well, I have to live in my truth. No, you have to live in truth. Because there's a lot of people that have a distorted mindset that think that their truth is real truth. I can say my truth is that I'm Iron Man. It doesn't mean I'm Iron Man. That's called a psychosis. That's a whole nother teaching, but it's called a psychosis. It's something that detaches you from reality. When you're detached from reality, the vast majority of people that live in a life where they are detached from reality quite often enter into massive areas of depression. And because of that, what happens? They plummet. We're looking at people checking crap out, taking themselves out in our community like we've never seen before. What's causing it? We have to look at what's happening at the root. From the root to the freaking fruit. Let's examine that. Let's look very closely at that. Let's look at that. How do we begin to make those adjustments? Pop over to the website. Pop over to R.W. Jojo Hill. A Bridge Called Depression is one of those pieces that's very, very, very powerful. You got to have a plan is another very powerful teaching that we have there. You want to take a look at those pieces because if you don't have a plan for your life, it's easy for depression to slide in there because you don't know what you're supposed to do. You feel like all your efforts are pointless because you don't know what you're supposed to do. You don't have a plan. You don't have anything in play that will, in fact, help you determine what your next is. You don't know what the next move is because you don't know where the crap you're going. How do you begin to combat depression? How do you do that? You can, in fact, fight it. You can combat it if you know what the crap you're doing. What's your self-mission? What have you been put on this planet to do? That's a very powerful piece. What have you been put here to do? But if you don't know what the crap you've been put on here to do, any road will get you there. And you'll be extremely frustrated, and you can ultimately end up in a state of depression. But I'm here to tell you guys tonight, listen to me very closely. There is a route away from it and a way out of it. You don't have to remain in the stage or the state of mind. You can route your way out. You say, but okay, Jojo, but how do I begin to do that? You have to begin to start removing the negative influences in your life that will push you or route you into the area of depression. Now, like I said at the outset tonight, grief is a human experience that we go through when we lose people that we care about. That's a common thread. But be very careful with the concept of grief, because depression has been known to lock itself right on the back of grief. It'll jump right on its back. And before you know it, you'll be dealing with a heavy, heavy presence of depression. You got to watch that. Now, in regards to understanding who you are, recognizing who you are, acknowledging what your assignment is, the thing that I've learned, guys, is that so many people, if you ask them what in the ham and crap are they supposed to be doing, do you know that most people have no freaking idea what the crap they're supposed to be doing? Most people have no idea. They have no concept of what they're supposed to be doing in their next. They don't think of a next. They don't have a freaking next. They've never planned it. They've never put anything in position or any level of movement that it routes them into, how do I do my next? See, I'm interested in people being made whole. I talked about this in a previous show. I'm interested in people being made whole. And I believe this could be one of my potential I don't want to say negative traits. I'll say you've heard people talk about your pros and your cons. I'll speak about this particular con of mine. I'm a fan of people, and I'm excited about people having a knowledge of self and walking in truth, not their version of truth, but truth. I don't want to have you living in a fantasy world. I don't want to give you a bunch of fluff that's going to make you think that if you spin around 3 times and slap 3 people, that is going to happen for you. That's not real. That's why so many people, you know what, one of the greatest areas of people that are in a huge demographic in regards to depression is church people, so-called Christians. That's why I refuse to be a so-called Christian or a so-called church person. Can't do that, because I understand what it ain't. So I'm not going to hinge myself into a system that is consistently depriving people of knowledge of self. So you have to think, how does it connect? One thing is always systemically connected to the next. But why? How in the ham and crap is it connected like that? We won't acknowledge it. We won't accept it. We won't face this crap head on and say, wait a minute, why is there so many people in here that are depressed? What the crap? If this thing was in truth, if we were watching these areas of truth, depression can't stay where truth is. Oh man. It can't do it. Are you listening to the old troublemaker? We have to acknowledge and recognize that we have another way out. And the universal God has already given us that. He's already placed this information inside of us. He's given us the components of how we move. How do we begin to do that? Surround yourself with those that lift you. Rid yourself of people that are stripping you of yourself. Rid yourself of the negative influences that plummet and topple your assignment. Get the crap off the social media crap and stop allowing it to dictate the functions of your mind and your life, because it's designed to throw you off. It's addictive. It's like a freaking drug. You'll find people that sit there and just scroll on their phone. They'll just scroll. They're just locked. Their brains are locked for freaking hours and hours and hours. the time that you're supposed to be doing something else to build your life, you're feeling this crap that's destroying your life. I'm about liberation. I'm about freedom. Freedom of mind. Because if I free your mind, I can relieve you of the pressure. I talked about this in this previous training when I was dealing with healing and wholeness. The healing process, it's about making you healthy again. But far too often, people get stuck in the healing. They get stuck there. They have to keep repeating it over and over. But wholeness, on the other hand, is substantially different. To be made whole means to be made complete or harmonious. Are y'all listening to the old troublemaker? I want you to be made whole. And depression won't get you when you're made whole. Depression can't get you. It won't make you want to throw yourself off a freaking bridge. It won't make you want to take yourself out because you've been whole. You've been made whole again. You've been made complete. But what is that completion? I'm finished. What is that completion? The completion is, brothers and sisters, I know exactly who in the ham and cheese I am and what and how I'm supposed to be. So I'm only going to function in truth, not fake in any capacity, not phony in any capacity, not fugazi in any capacity. I'm not going to be a counterfeit in any capacity. I'm a step in, listen to me, man. I'm going to live in the best and the truest and the purest, most natural version of myself as humanly possible. And can nobody beat me being who in the ham and cheese I am. That's how I'm going to live. I'm not willing to adjust it. I'm not going to change it. All right, guys, listen, I want you guys to win. I want you to win. I have so much stuff here that I want to say. But we'll get it. We'll swing back. Because if you've landed in this area of depression through a period of time, it took you a period of time to land there. So you're not going to just suddenly pop out of it in one piece. Get the trainings, get the information. You need the stuff that's going to help your mind, stimulate your mind to get you out of the area that you're in. And guys, be on the lookout because we're going to talk to you guys about this other platform that we have to get you guys to and through, because this Facebook crap and whatever the heck they're doing, it's freaking insane. But alas, those that's supposed to hear it will always hear it. The people that's supposed to see it will see it. All right, guys, this is your friend and brother Robert W. Jojo Hill, the servant, the artist, and the author. I want you guys to be encouraged, be empowered, and most of all, guys, say it with me, be enlightened. The servant has spoken. And I'm out.